and welcome to the Agatebay YouTube channel. I am Joshua from Agatebay, and today's video is about looking at rough stones, trying to figure out if they can be any good. And I just want to give you some ideas of signs you can be looking for when you want to buy your own rough stones. I have a Swazi agate from Mozambique. I have a Malawi agate. I have a Polyhedroid agate where I can tell you a little bit about, and then this kind of weird potato looking piece. This is a Swazi agate from Mozambique, and from one of my more recent trips to Africa. You can watch the video right up here in the corner if you want to check that out next. But this is what I'm talking about, how it is like more easy to look for a commercial kind of cutting grade. This is a prime example because it has a beautiful window on this side and a beautiful window on this side, so there's really not much that can go wrong in between, except for maybe some fractures appearing, but that is kind of without your hands because you cannot really see any fracturing. What really helps sometimes when looking for rough stones is really just having a strong light source. You can see how the light is refracting through the agate, and this also helps you to spot fractures in some cases. It also sometimes it happens that if there is a piece that only has one window, that it could be opening up to some quartz or something. So having two windows on either of the two, on both of the sides is pretty much ideal. So this is pretty much a guaranteed banger. And yeah, let's just rip it through and see how good it's actually going to be. I'm staying a little more towards this side just because the volume is opening up a little more there. I also like this window a little bit better than the other window. And also the shape is just a little bit more round and compact. Oh, wow. 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 This pink Swazi agate from Mozambique is just absolutely incredible. It is so beautiful, great contrast in the banding. I don't really see any fractures going on, maybe a little bit of a hairline fracture up top there. But the colors are just amazing, and so is the contrast within the banding. This also reminds me so much of some of the Australian agates where you find a little bit similar combination with this bright blue and pink color, but it's just such a unique specimen, and there was really not that much high risk involved with choosing this because of the two windows we could already see from the outside. Another factor when choosing rough stones, at the example of this Malawi agate, is fractures. Always look out for lines that you can see within the stone, and if you see a line, in most cases this will be a fracturing line. In some cases it could be a flow channel line, but in most cases it is a fracture. So if you see a fracture, usually look if you still have an angle of how you can cut it. In this piece it's kind of convenient as well because it has that big calcite filling in the center, so I would move the cut further away anyways. So in this case it's not really that much of an issue for me, but usually try to stay away from fractures when you buy some rough stones, or at least try to look for angles already when purchasing the rough stones if you still have a cutting angle to avoid the fracturing line. Other than that, again, here you see just a beautiful window. Usually not too much that can go wrong, but also a little bit of the host rock material attached, which you can actually also really feel in the weight. It feels a little bit lighter than it would feel if it was only agate, and it could be that the entire host rock area is actually reaching all the way around, and that here in the end I may not be left with a lot of agate at all. Oh wow, that's crazy. It seems like I've been getting a little too close to the natural fracturing line, and it just, during the cut, it fell apart on me, but also it has a few other fractures. So usually when you see pieces that are fractured, there's also a higher chance that there could be more fractures. So my advice is always look for pieces where you cannot see any fractures, or at least try to find them where they are like really visible, and try to avoid them when cutting. In this case, I've just been a little bit unlucky. Other than that, I mean, that piece has just gorgeous colors. And I mean, also you can just increase your chances by buying the right rough stones, because there's always like a certain kind of average of which locality produces what kind of good yield. And one of the best yields on the market right now are actually the Alimajo agates from Malawi, which are relatively small, but they have just an incredible variety in colors and a pretty good cutting yield overall. So I would say the Alimadro agates are currently one of the best cutting rough on the market that is the most fun to cut. Here we are looking at a Polyhedroid agate from Brazil, and the reason why I'm showing it to you in the light here is a little similar to the first piece I've been showing you. Is you can not only just spot fractures, especially in pieces that are a little bit lighter on the outside, but you can also make an estimate on what's hidden inside. And here you can see most of the exterior material looks pretty light, so it's probably just clear quartz. But in the center, it seems like there is a darker spot, and this is probably where the agate is concentrating, since it's just a little bit more opaque and doesn't let the light shine through as much. So having darker pieces is definitely an indicator for having specimens that are more agatized than just quartz. So if you have a rough stone, it's always good to hold it like in the sunlight against the light, or just have a strong flashlight or something, just so you can see if it will be mostly agatized or mostly quartz, just since quartz lets the light go through a little better. This one I'm just going to cut for the biggest volume. You can see here it's pretty wide. Here it is a little bit higher, so here it's higher, here it's wider. So I will just make a cut in between the widest and the highest area, and probably just cut somewhere around here. Oh, cute. Oh, yeah. I really like the cutting angle of this piece, just trying to even out the left piece being higher, the right piece being wider, and I think it's just gorgeous. Two beautiful pieces with a botryoidal center, and a lot of times in the polyhedroid agates you can also see this rough dirt from decades ago, from the time when they have been mined, just coming in through like areas or infiltration channels and making those empty cavities filled with the red dirt. Yeah, beautiful piece overall. Really happy with this one. Two gorgeous specimens right here. The last piece I have here today is this kind of really odd looking potato looking piece. You can see it's got a fracture right here and a possible inclusion over there. There's another little fracture line here. So these are all things I want to avoid. Overall, it also feels relatively light. And sometimes in order, to see what fractures are, what's happening with the fractures, like in this case, the Malawi agate had such a heavy fracture that I could probably just have it tapped with a hammer and it would have fell apart and not broken in the saw. So sometimes if you see it like a pretty heavy fracture line like this, you can also just tap it a little bit with a hammer. And then sometimes in rare cases, you can see it is an actual potato and not even a rock. I hope you learned something from today's video about how to pick good rough stones, but in general, of course, it is also like by increasing your chances of buying the rough stones from the right places or the right dealers, just because they have certain quality criteria, but also usually if you have an honest and fair dealer you're dealing with, then the price of the rough stones should also somewhat reflect the quality of the material that you're buying. So if you're buying cheap material, you usually can't expect to have like really high quality agates, while if you're like spending a lot of money on rough stones, it would of course make sense if the pieces were also in a higher quality of your cuttings. I think in this piece you also could see a little bit that the outer areas where it has just this light agate and the quartz layers, that you can just really learn a lot by looking at the pieces with the translucency that both helps in order to find quartz in specimens, as well as fracturing lines. And other than that, I would say just looking out for windows and fractures are the two most important criteria. And if you want to learn more about how to cut agates in general, I put up a video about that, and you can watch it right up there in the corner. And sometimes you're even lucky and find a potato you can eat. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you have been fooled by this specimen here as well. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel, leave a thumbs up. There's a new video every week on Friday, and these specimens are right now available on my website in the specimen section. I also have a rough stone section on my website, so make sure to check that out if you want to cut some of your own pieces. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.